Would anyone object if we started a little early?
I wouldn't object.
Do you mind if we start a little early? Fantastic. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to the Calgary Fringe Festival. My name is Tamara Van Horne, and I'm the Artist Services Manager here at the Fringe. We're coming to you live from Inglewood, the heart of Inglewood in Calgary, Alberta. And today we're here talking with the graduates of this year's Fringe U, Fringe University program. Now, the Fringe U is a program here at the Calgary Fringe Festival to help emerging artists become self-producers. And joining us today are Nathan Crockett.
Hello.
Robin Williams, Stuart Bentley, and Executive Director Michelle Gallant. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. Michelle, I'm going to start with you. Tell us how it started. What is the genesis of the Fringe U program?
Well, the Fringe U program started basically as an idea, especially during COVID. And it was an opportunity for me when, of course, the festivals and everything got canceled in 2020. It was an opportunity for me to talk with different artists just to kind of check in, see how they were doing, and ask them what would be any barriers that would stop them from participating in a Fringe. And I thought initially the barrier was going to be the cost. Like, I thought it was going to be the participation fee. And I was very surprised when a lot of them had expressed it wasn't that. It was more the idea around, okay, I have to produce my own show. And there was one artist in particular that I was talking to, and she said, you know what? I went to University of Lethbridge. I did the whole 4 years, took playwriting. I did a lot of theater, and I was told all throughout my 4 years that I would be great at Fringe. You should do Fringe. You should write show for Fringe. And she was very excited. And then she graduated, started writing her show, started looking around how she would go about applying, and then very quickly realized, oh, I have to figure out a budget. Oh, I have to figure out a tour schedule. I have to figure out how I'm going to get from point A to point B to point C. I have to figure out where I'm going to find money to fund myself and do the show. And she very quickly got overwhelmed and froze. Like she said, literally, Michelle, I froze. And for the first 2 years, I was just too scared to do anything other than audition for shows, wait for the phone, or wait for the phone call saying you got a part. So she said it would have been great if somebody like you would have came in and explained more about Fringe festivals, how they all work, and to give us tools. She says, I know you can find it on the internet, you can find anything on the internet, but just to have that introduction from a human being aspect of things. So that really spoke to me when she said that. And I thought, oh, that was a horrible feeling that she was frozen, that she, felt overwhelmed. And I was like, I don't want anybody to feel that way when they come into a show. I want them to feel like they're supported, that they can make a career for themselves in the arts. And that's where the whole impetus of Fringe U started for me. So it was having, the opportunity to be able to do a workshop intensive with artists, to be able to give them, okay, from soup to nuts, these are things that you have to be aware of. So, going over an overview of everything, how you do a budget, where you can find funding, how to, build your support team. What are things that you need to be aware of? So it takes away at least that overwhelming feeling, even if at the end of it they said, I don't know, self-producing is not for me. At least they have a better understanding and a groundwork to be able to work from. And then we expanded it into in arts administration as well. So having opportunities like my shadows, having people shadow the executive director during the festival, and having high school students be able to get that experience. Having junior technicians be able to work alongside our seasoned venue techs. And one of the things I'm really proud about that program is they in turn turn into our Fringe venue techs and pass on their knowledge to the next generation. So it's really an opportunity just to provide, more ways for people to be involved in the arts, more ways to give supportive tools for artists to be able to make a career for themselves without feeling frozen, without feeling stuck. And also to let people know there's more than just being an artist on stage. There's so many different ways you can be in a career in the arts. So if you're interested in marketing, but you love the arts, there's a path for you in that. So that was kind of the whole journey for me in that. And I am so super proud of the 3 people sitting on stage today that took the second round of courses with their Fringe U Self-Producing Artist Workshop. because now they have full-fledged shows at the festival this year. And, you know, it's just amazing to hear the feedback from the patrons, the experience that these three have had. And it just fills my heart for joy. It's just really great.
Was it a hard sell to the Fringe board? Now, I don't know if a lot of people know, but the Fringe Festival, of course, is a nonprofit organization, so it does have a board. Was the board with you from the start, or was it a sell to be like, no, we can also incorporate education into what the festival does?
It wasn't a hard sell at all. Like when I mentioned that idea to the board, they were immediately said, yes, that's amazing. Do you have capacity? That was their only concern was, you know, do you have capacity to be able to add this to your, you know, already big list of to-dos? And for me, it was like, yes, immediately. Oh, for sure. For sure I can do this. So it was not a hard sell at all for the board. It was something that fits within our mandate of being support to emerging artists and emerging art workers. So this is just like an extension of that and being able to do it year round, not just during festival time.
So now you mentioned COVID. COVID was a challenging time for a lot of festivals across the country. So how did Fringe Youth start? Well, I was part of the first one. I was really grateful to be an artist, and it was an incredible experience for me. We'll talk about me later, though, friends. But I want to hear more about the nuts and bolts on your side. So what were some of the challenges coming out of COVID to get something like this off the ground? Or was there a lot of support?
I would say there was a lot of support. I think the first 2 years, especially like for 2021, 2022, it was more about, you know, especially as the world was reopening up again, you know, how do we reintroduce audiences back to live performances? How do we create safe spaces for our artists to come back on stage? So for the first year, like for 2021, we didn't really do anything with the Fringe Youth program because it was still a lot of social distancing, masking. So we really didn't do very much then. But in 2022, that's when we started expanding the program. So having like our first artist self-producer workshop, keeping it small and contained. Vertigo Theater was, or not Vertigo, Grand Theater was really great about giving us their space to use for our first workshop. So we had funding support from Canadian Heritage, from CADA, for Alberta Foundation for the Arts, to reignite the performing arts, especially during that time period. So, I mean, for us, it's always been operating within your means and then just, you know, going from there. So for us, getting that funding support was really great. We were able to showcase our first round of Fringe Youth artist self-producing students who did special performances, if you remember, in March of 2022 at the Grand, that they were able to do a special show. So because of that funding that we got from Heritage to re-engage audiences, that was really a blessing. And you know, now fast forward, I mean, obviously coming out of COVID, post-COVID, a lot of that funding has dried up. It has been a challenge in terms of like continued funding support. But you know, for us, we're doing it Fringe style. You just find the free spaces where you can. Big borrow and steal where you can, and just working together collectively as a community and just pulling together, and you know, it's flourishing.
It absolutely is. I love that you also said too, one of the goals of the program is to create careers for artists working in the arts. Now, I know for me, I've had opportunities both within acting and with producing and directing, so my career is really taking off. With the other three graduates from my year, do you know how they're doing?
Yeah, well, Alexia McGinn, who was one of our first students, she is in this festival. She took her show that she workshopped last year, 2022, went to, I think, 2 or 3 Fringes last year. I think she's going to 2 or 3 Fringes this year, of which Calgary Fringe is one of it. So for me to see her take that opportunity, because she was one of those artists that's like, I wrote the show, I don't know if people will like it, and found out, yes, there is an audience, and then she felt confident enough to be able to apply for Fringe festivals, get accepted, go out and do the tour, that she's really come into her own around that. And Francis Chaman, who also has 2 shows at this Calgary Fringe, at the Next Page bookstore. He has Wuthering Frights and Surprised by Love. Same thing, like for him, it was just taking the knowledge that he learned, making those relationships with the venue, making those like arrangements of bringing in volunteers, his own volunteers, setting up his ticketing structure so that he was able to make this a business for himself. So I think like those two especially like are examples, and you know, being like you've had so many great directing opportunities, show opportunities. So just to see the three of you really going for it just is great, because you can make a career for yourself in the arts, and just to see like you actually doing that just is great.
And I love that that's 100% success rate.
Yeah.
Every single person coming out of this program has gone on to find success and really build a foundation in the arts.
Absolutely.
What an amazing thing to do for more grant money. Thank you. I try.
Yeah.
So for those artists who are here in town who are interested in Fringe U or applying for Fringe University, what topics are covered? How long does the program go for?
So it typically goes over 3 or 4 Saturday afternoons for about 3 hours. Usually it's starting in the middle of September, going to like the end of October. Applications will go online towards the end of August, beginning of September. I usually select between 3 or 4 students as a maximum, because I want to keep it small but engaging, that I can work with them on one-on-one. And then basically they get like a manual just going, you want to be a self-producing artist. Do you want to start a company, or do you want to be sole proprietorship? Okay, and what team do you want to build? Okay, now we're going to talk about your show, and what does your budget look like? What does your show look like? What kind of venues do you want to perform in? So it's not just skill sets that you would use in a Fringe environment, but it's something that you can take out into the world anywhere. So you can like make your own like arrangements with the venues and do your lease agreements. You know what you're doing there. What do you need for liability insurance? Where can I find different granting opportunities? So all of that gets covered in the course. They get a binder that they can take home with them, but they also have like continued mentorship and guidance and support when needed from me as well. Like leading into the festival, after when we were done our course, it's like every month we would have a check-in. How are things going? Holding each other accountable, right? To getting like that script finished, or, you know, like making sure that they're dedicating time to themselves, towards themselves in their practice. And so, you know, it comes down to the fruition of bringing it to the festival here, but it goes beyond that. And if I were to use Alexa from Selexia, she's done shows outside of Fringe as well and booked her own venues. So it's great. Like it's just so wonderful to see those little nuggets of things that are happening, and it makes me feel happy that I was able to inspire and give confidence to somebody to be able to do that.
Which I think is great. When you're applying for the program, do you need to have a show all ready to go?
Nope, you don't. You can even just have, it could be even an idea that you had burning in your head for years and you just didn't have the motivation to put it down on paper. Well, guess what? Now you're gonna get the motivation now. So you don't need to have a show already in the hopper, even if it's just something that's like, you know, I'm not sure yet, but I'm interested in finding out more. I would like to learn more, so they can make an informed decision for themselves. Absolutely, they don't need to have a show ready.
Good. All right, I want to give you guys a cheat code when you're applying for this program. Who are you looking for? What really speaks to you when you get these applications? Oh, I can tell that I've thrown you a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
What kind of what do you want to hear from people when they're applying for this program?
I think probably the first thing I want to hear is their passion. I want to know what speaks to them as an artist and why it is that they want to pursue a career as an artist. I want to hear, I think in the application I want to hear, I'm eager to learn. I'm a blank slate, teach me. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. So I think those are things, like I really look for like that passion. I look for that drive, that initiative. It's like, if you have that, I can teach you anything. If you don't, or if you're just kind of like, well, you know, it's just, if it's not something that speaks to you, then my preference would be, then leave that spot open for somebody else that really wants to do something with this.
I think that's awesome, which is a lovely segue to the three of you. I'm going to ask all three of you together, and you can answer in any order you like. Okay. I'd love to know a little bit about yourselves. Where did you get started? Why did you want to become a performing artist?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I got started like 51 years ago when I was still in school, like in junior high. I just by accident got into the drama program, and in high school I took it for extra credits because it was fun. found out that my drama teacher was a professional actor and had been for years before he became a teacher, and he was dead serious about everything he taught and how we learned. We did a whole season of theater every year in high school.
Wow.
And so I started working at the Citadel Theater afterwards, and beyond that I've mostly just done community theater, but I've done well over 100 shows over the years, and I've done some film and TV and voice work, and I've been in 2 Fringes. One I won my way in, another one we just got lucky in Edmonton in 1988, but we didn't know what we were doing, and we just sort of printed flyers and walked around and hoped we'd get some bums in seats. But we didn't know how to market ourselves or budget or do anything. Yeah, we just winged it. So I wanted to know a little better than how to do winging it.
Yeah.
And Robin, Nathan, how did the two of you get started?
I've been doing community theater since I was maybe 10 or 11. I had tried all different kinds of roles. I just loved it. I loved the theater. Ended up getting a degree in theater, and while I was at theater school, really honed my passion for playwriting, and that became kind of the center of my craft. I also picked up a lot of other skills along the way, though. And I graduated, and then I got married and had a kid. And I just kind of was like, well, I'm gonna just put my theater pursuit on the sideline for now, and this is my life now. But then I didn't last long.
It never does.
Yeah, it's a terrible addiction.
I think the wake-up call for me was when I wrote an entire play while feeding my daughter. Just feeding her, writing.
Wow.
I think that was the moment when I said to myself, I know having a family is important to you, but you're not done with this yet.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to that, but I want to hear Nathan. How did you get started?
Well, it was in grade 8 where I played a character in this really crappy one-act comedy with a terrible French accent, and then a terrible English accent in grade 9. And then I kind of did the musicals in high school and did Into the Woods, and that's when I really fell in love with doing acting. And I played the wolf. It was very fun. And basically, after high school, I went to Company of Rogues, as Tamara has as well.
Shout out Company of Rogues.
Yes.
Yeah, they're great. I've gone there too. Fantastic.
Really fantastic. And I took their 2-year masterclass program, and I graduated that in 2021. And I've just been trying and succeeding a little bit more every year to make more and more of my work that I do on a daily basis arts-based. And now I'm here.
Now you're here.
Took the self-producing workshop, and now I got my own show. So
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, I'm going to go down the line again. Stuart, so you've been doing this for a while, a
Yeah.
lifetime.
Yeah, but it had to work to pay for it. It's an expensive habit.
I know, I recently went on vacation and I met an artist who was my tour guide, and I said that I was an artist and a director, and he said, "Oh, you make money doing that?" And we laughed and we laughed. It was great. Which is what's great about the Fringe U program. So was that the biggest challenge for you moving forward in your career, or were there other obstacles in your way?
Well, there's not enough professional theater, professional film work, professional television. There's not enough money-making acting opportunities where we are, here in Calgary, to really have much of a full-time career. You've got to do a bunch of other things, and they can all be arts-related. You could be like David Lorraine and offer voice classes, dialect classes. There's so many people, they teach acting or they teach movement. So there's lots of ways of making your art your life. I eventually discovered audiobook narration, and I built a studio at home, and that enabled me to stop working a regular job so that I could still have some performing work to do in my booth, telling stories, if I wasn't on a stage or on a film set.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. And then Robin, you spoke about, and which I feel really has touched me too, that choice between, do I give up my lifelong dream of being a performer to have a family, which is also a dream that I have too? Was that your biggest obstacle, or did you find other challenges in the way?
There were a couple things. Number one, I graduated in the height of COVID. There were no jobs, like none. So I didn't really even have the option of, graduating and going out into the workforce. And another thing was, I'm from Ontario. I moved out here right after school, and I didn't know anyone in the theater sector, nobody. So I was just kind of on my own, and then also just wanting a family so badly and wanting to make that a priority. But so there were a couple things kind of that I juggled.
Definitely. And your daughter is just the sweetest. Oh my
Yes.
God. Like, do not meet her daughter if you're like on the fence about kids, because she will push you over into motherhood. And then what about for you, Nathan? You just graduated school as well, and it sounds like you're having some success, but what challenges were you finding on the way?
I excuse me. I would say much to the same vein as Stuart. It's like, there's not enough work to go around, and I'm like, okay, I want to try and build my portfolio and really go hard after this. And I tried I did some community theater. I do like the simulated patient, simulated client stuff, University of Calgary, to keep that going. But it was really just like, I don't want to sit around and wait, because because like, if you sit around and wait for someone to call you, or you wait to book the role, it will never happen, because that's just not how this industry works, unfortunately. It'd be cool, but you have to go out and make people see you. And I guess I was like, I don't really know how to do that. So I was like, I don't know how to make a show. The only thing I went to school for was acting. That is my only skill as far as all that goes. I didn't know how to do budgets. I didn't know how to do this, that. So I was just like, very much like graduating those students that are like overwhelmed, and it's like, where do I even start?
Which is a great segue to the next question. I'll let any of you answer it first. How did you find out about the Fringe U program, and what led you to apply?
I can go.
Yeah.
I started following all the different theater companies in Calgary, and just everyone who was doing art. I was like, okay, I'll just kind of get in the know. So I followed the Calgary Fringe, and just came up on Facebook one day, and I thought, wow, like that sounds like something that would be perfect for me. I don't know how to start based on where I'm at in a new city, having no experience yet, and it just seemed perfect.
That's awesome. Stuart?
I've been living here 23 years, and I have worked with many of the theater companies, and so certainly following them. Calgary Acts, which is the umbrella organization for community theaters, they have an email list, which is fantastic. Go to calgary-acts.com and sign up for that, because you'll find out about crewing and casting opportunities for everything. I think that's where I first saw the thing come out, but I'm also a past Fringe board member, so I've got sort of connections, and I knew people, and when I saw that, I emailed my application in right away, and I thought, you know what, I've got a show I've wanted to do for years, and maybe this is the kick in the ass that I need to make it happen.
That's awesome. And then Nathan?
It was actually Jack and Rebecca that I forget what their show was called that they did in 2022 for that Fringe self-producing. It was about
so
like
cool.
the daughter of the devil, or something. Forget what the name of it is.
I remember the character's name was Pip, and
Yes.
it was based around pomegranates, and it was the myth of Persephone.
Yes.
And all about inherited trauma, family trauma.
Yes.
It was wonderful.
They invited me to come watch this. I had not heard of a Fringe before in my life.
Oh, wow.
At this point, I went in, and they're like, Fringe University. I'm like, this is really cool. This is really cool. And I was like, okay. And then and then a few months later, Shanice Stanislaus, who did Mail Ordered, and I was working with her on that, said, we're going to Vancouver Fringe. I was like, okay. And then I started learning a bit more about this, and I was like, okay, this is dope. I want to do this. This seems like the testing ground, like the testing ground to really build those creative skills of writing, producing, and all of that. And I was like, I would love to participate with my own show. And then I was just keeping an eye on it because I knew Calgary U was a thing. I would check that every so often, be like, are there applications open? When are they doing this? Because I saw the thing. I was like, applications are not open. All right, I'll check again next week. And then as soon as it opened, I was like, okay, I'm sending in my application.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what did you guys learn? Tell everybody, what do you find, what was the most valuable thing, or one of the things that really sticks out to you from taking the classes? The silence is always positive.
It's so much. You're drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah,
for 3
literally.
weeks. There is a lot, and I still haven't learned it all because there are so many aspects that are taught that I haven't explored yet. I haven't done a Fringe tour, so I haven't had to calculate all of those things, you know, logistics of travel and costs and that, and fundraising. But that is something I've got earmarked for next season. So I know I've got a really good toolkit moving forward.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Robin, what about you?
I felt like the program helped me know what the steps were to get to the end result. It was like, yeah, you can talk about, producing your own show, and that's great, but how do you actually get there? Like, what do you need to do first? What do you do after that? And this program laid it all out, and it was like, okay, I got to do this and this and this and this, and we're going to have a show ready to go.
Yeah, it's a recipe. It's like you look at this great cake, but how do I do that?
Yeah. I just felt like I learned the steps as well as just helped me gain the confidence to just be like, I am capable of this. This is something that has a step-by-step process that you can follow. Break it down, break it down. Because like I look at it, I'm like, I want to make a show. I'm like, making a show? That sounds really overwhelming. What the hell does that even mean, make a show?
Yeah.
Like I haven't really I haven't done like a tour where I've been responsible for the production side of things, but I'm looking forward to being able to practice those skills that we worked. And the best thing that I really like about it is that we have this binder that was given to us with everything we talked about and thorough explanation of everything. And now if I'm just thinking, I should do a show, then I'm just making a poor excuse because I got the Bible right there that I can look at. So it's staring me in the face. It's like, don't talk about it. Just do it. I'll still be struggling with
Definitely.
that. But,
I love that you all touch on, I think for me, when I was doing the program, I now understand the business of being an actor. I mean, I had the skills and I love to be on stage and I love to perform, but I really wasn't thinking about, okay, where is this money coming from? Where am I going? How am I marketing myself as a performer? How am I making sure that I'm staying relevant? Do you find that outside of Fringe as well, you're building those skills up as well?
I would say so. Like I tried doing marketing. I wasn't able to make the live one, but that marketing workshop that you did, I forget the person's name that you interviewed for that.
Brian?
Yeah. I watched that and I took the advice of using Reels and doing that for like the advertising, and it worked really well. And I was like, I felt like I learned something about marketing. I feel like that's the skill that I best developed this year was like marketing was important to marketing. I had a great friend who helped me out with doing all that, and it was like I think that was a good skill that helped grow that grow the other, and is a great skill to learn and hone in on because there's a lot of noise out there. So
and the other thing it took for me away from that kind of scarcity mindset of like, I have to apply for it, I have to put myself out there for every audition. And I was really thinking about where my money is coming from, especially you were talking about with Fringe tours. Now I know that I need to go to these websites for all these Fringes that are out there, seeing what their average ticket payout is per show for the artist so that I'm making sure that the money that I need to be making is there. So I'll know that this festival generally pays out $2,000 if I'm going to go on tour, so I can actually make the money to go. rather than just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Anybody else feeling that with their budgets too?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, you're here in Fringe, which is fantastic. So I want to hear about your shows now too. And I just don't want to hear that elevator pitch, which of course I know you learned at Fringe.
What?
But I know that for me, I actually changed my show midstream. We were going to do a children's puppet show that went wrong, and then we realized how stupidly technical that was, and we shifted to a story about 2 Alberta women who were sent to the gallows. So we changed our story at midstream. So that was a nice thing about Fringe, to really think about the realistic expectations. Tell us about the genesis of your projects and what they became. We'll start with you, since you said you had the idea right away.
Yeah, my idea came to me the last time I was in a Fringe in 2011. After performing, I was sitting with my partner, and it just sort of came to me. This story would be about my, at that time, several years long experiences with yo-yo weight loss and all of the difficulties of keeping weight off when the struggles of life are getting in your way. And I didn't do a lot with it right away, but I got a website because I figured I'd need that for marketing. And then I didn't do any writing too quickly. I did some. Then when my wife got ill, I sort of put everything like that on the back burner. And so the journey over the last 10 years of caring for her, and as her disease has progressed, that really enriched the story that I had to tell, because I was still in that same place, and I was still going through so many different struggles in life that I would have limited or better success with, and it would ebb and flow. And so I think my show covers all of those things. Yes, it's about yo-yo weight loss, but it's about overcoming all the challenges in your life. And this gave me the impetus to say, yeah, it's time to finish this and really put it out there.
So did you have part of it written already?
Probably 5 minutes.
How long is your show?
About 55 minutes. But I had it in my head. I mean, I knew the events, and I knew what had taken place, and I knew how I wanted to talk about them. The order and how it sort of became non-linear, and its presentation changed as I was writing it. And I was editing, and I went, no, I grabbed this whole paragraph. That's got to be here. And yeah, once I got going on it, it was just like, I couldn't stop. I went, oh, it's 1 a.m. I'm done? Oh, now it's time to edit this 25 times.
So with the editing, did you bring anybody else on board to help you, dramaturgy or technical?
I didn't directly get any dramaturgy, although I did talk about the concept with Carolyn Russell King, tremendous playwright and dramaturge here in Calgary. Last year I probably spent an hour or more online just in a Zoom call talking with her about the idea for the show and what the concept was, and she said, well, you've got to find ways to build the conflict into the show, because it's got to go somewhere. It's got to have a path it takes. And it really did inform a lot of the writing that I did afterwards. I didn't get a chance to bring it to her afterwards, but I did perform it online just over Zoom for a few theater professionals 2 or 3 weeks before this opened. And it allowed me to massage the script and change a few things, to bring some things up and maybe just leave some fluff that was just filler, I think.
That's
behind.
really, so you're self-directed as well.
Yeah.
So this is really a one-man show.
Yeah.
And do you feel like that was the way to go? Or looking back on the process, would you have brought anyone else on board?
Well, if I'd have had more time, if I really had this thing fully written many months in advance as opposed to the way I did it, don't do it my way. I would have liked to talk with somebody about the direction of it and how does it look and what little things could I change. I've talked to a good friend who's a director and a Fringe performer and a clown artist, and he saw my show and he said, I would love to direct this if you're going to take it on tour. There's not much I would change, but there's a couple little things I'd like to add. And I'm going, awesome, because there's nothing wrong with being additive and bringing things out and making them better.
Definitely. Now, Robin, you're not performing in your show. Start from the beginning with it. Now, is this the show that you wrote while feeding your daughter?
No.
Okay.
It's a different show.
I wrote this right after I got married. I knew that starting a family was in my future, and I kind of wondered how my mom, she's a nuclear engineer, very brilliant, very career driven, I wondered how she was going to feel about the direction my life was going in. And I wrote the play kind of from that place, kind of wondering that. And I finished the first draft, just put it on the shelf, which is unfortunately what I do with most of my plays once I write them. And in the fall of 2023, I did have the opportunity to work to pull it out off of the shelf, and through Nightwood Theatre in Toronto, they had kind of a playwriting group called Creatrix that I was a part of for 8 weeks, and through that we worked every week on developing the next draft of this play, which I then also put back on the shelf. And so when I found out that I was going to be participating in Fringe University, this show just came to my mind. I have a couple kind of that I could have put on that I already had written, but I thought that this one it was a story I really wanted to tell, and it was a story I thought would be good for a Fringe festival as opposed to some of the other ones. And so I thought of it right away as, I'm going to do this show.
Why this one? What makes this perfect for Fringe?
A lot of my plays are really, really dark.
Really dark. Oh, we like it dark here.
Yes.
We like it dark.
And there was just something about this one that I felt there's something in it that everyone could access. And it was lighthearted, it's funny, it's sad at parts. I thought there's something in it for everyone. It's not super like intense and only for like the seasoned theater people who love like being totally have their world rocked by plays. It's not that kind of show. And so I thought it would be perfect. And it was a story that, it's quite close to my heart. It's somewhat has parallels to my own life, and I just really wanted to tell it.
And it's really made an impact here at Fringe. We hear lots of people talking about it. But like I said, you aren't performing in it. So tell us about that decision.
I don't like to act. They made us all everyone in my program had to take an acting class first year university, and I didn't like it. And I said, I don't want to do that. No, thank you. I would rather do anything else in theater, not that. And I've acted since. And I don't intend to. I find it so fulfilling to be part of a creation without having to like expose myself on the stage.
So how did you connect with your team?
Thanks to Nathan. I asked both Nathan and Stuart really early on in the process. I said, I don't know anyone, please help me find a director. And they both suggested people. I followed a couple trails, and finally I found somebody, that's Sarah Glubish. She's amazing, and she hooked me up with the rest of our team, and we were off to the races from there.
So who are your actors in your show?
Actors are Glenna McKenzie and Michelle R. They're both also from Rogues.
Yep.
And they're incredible. They're so talented, and it's such a pleasure to have them working on this show.
That's awesome. And were you there for every rehearsal? Were you there in the room helping massage things out? Did your script evolve?
I actually was there, not really as a playwright though. Sarah wanted right from the get-go, she knew she couldn't be here for the actual Fringe Festival, and so she wanted a stage manager. And I said,
she's in California. Ugh.
Oh, gee.
And I didn't want to bring on 1 million people onto the team for budgetary reasons. I just want to keep it small. And so I said, well, I've stage managed before. I can do it. And so since day one, I've been in the room stage managing and also tweaking lines as we went, reworking things, cutting things. So yeah.
And it's going good.
Yeah, it is. And I'm there every show, calling the show. So yeah, it's
And it
great.
came to life in the way that you intended?
It really did. You know what? It's more than when you write a play, you don't know just what it can become. You're putting out the framework, and that's why I really wanted to bring on a director so that I could see what vision they could bring to it, the outside of my own narrow kind of perspective. And yeah, it's been great.
I love hearing your voice. Just it feels like it's been a ride, like a roller coaster, but you finished it and you just want to do it again.
Yeah.
Now, Nathan, I know that we know each other in real life. I know a little bit.
I think you know these people in real life too,
But
right?
they're real too? Is this real
Of
life?
course it is.
So I know a little bit about the story of The Other, but I'd love you to start from the beginning. Tell everybody.
Oh,
It's been a journey.
yes. So, yes, this play, The Other, is, it was an idea that was kind of in my mind since going to Company of Rogues. I had this idea of writing some sort of play about the inner voice and how destructive it can be, and how, it is, useful. It is important that we have that, but an unhealthy relationship with it can be destructive. And I think it's interesting, we were hanging out backstage before the show, and Jonathan Topp, who plays the role of Daniel in The Other, he mentioned something. It's like, it's kind of strange as human beings when we when we experience like that fear, that anxiety, that inner voice that's telling us to stop, we do the opposite thing as social creatures a lot of the time. That, at least from a lot of people that I've observed, we pull away from everyone else rather than going towards them like we should as social creatures. And I liked that idea, and I think that encompasses the idea of the show very well. But I kind of had this idea percolating. Never wrote anything down. It was kind of in the back of my mind. And then I saw this Fringe U, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then basically, because I would never write anything unless someone was like pushing me to do it. Like, that's the thing that I need to work on for myself, is like having that self accountability. But thank goodness for Fringe U, because it was like, okay, you're doing this and a show's happening whether you like it or not, so you better write something. And yeah, it was, I actually, once that fire was turned on, I got the first draft done like in a week and a half. I was like, and it was like, boom, great. And then I sent it out to a lot of people. I was like, yeah, it's my first draft. It's going to be awesome. People came back with feedback, of course, and I asked for feedback. I wanted the feedback. And I was like, and then there was a month or two writer's block when I tried to write the second draft, and it was basically an overhaul of the whole play. And it still had the same core idea, but the characters were more specific and just better fleshed out. And then when my partner Elena, who I live with, and Jonathan Topp, who did a Fringe show last year called Real, fantastic show. I brought them on board, and because I've worked with them before, worked with Jonathan at the Calgary Zoo, and Elena's I worked with in a couple of respects, and she's my partner and she's an actor as well. I wanted to work with her; it'd be really cool, and I invited my friend Brian Sandberg, who had never directed a show before, to direct my show. He's a good friend of mine that I took a class at Company of Rogues with. And man, like, I had a killer team for this production. Like, they all gave it their all, were extremely focused. And Brian, it was like he directed 100 shows before. He was so good. And we broke my script. Like, we well, not completely broke it, but like we did rewrites. So there ended up having another scene added into it in the middle of rehearsal because it felt like it wasn't long enough. And then rewrites, and me just being like, say whatever you want that makes you feel comfortable, like it was a lot of like very collaborative sort of spirit, and like I really enjoyed the collaboration and the respect that we all had for each other, and the ideas that everyone brought to the table to make this show what it is today. And yeah, then I guess now we're here.
You are.
So.
And you hooked up with Third Draft Theater, which is a really,
yes.
really hot, up-and-coming independent theater company.
Absolutely.
Tell us about how that happened.
Yes, so I worked with Third Draft on Mary's Wedding. That was earlier this year, one of my favorite productions I've ever done. It was a beautiful, beautiful play. And that's the first time I got introduced to Third Draft, and they were also in the Fringe last year with Innocence Astray. And I was like, the people that are at Third Draft, Allie Grams, Danny White, they're my friends, and I want to help I want to be a part of this thing, and help grow their body of work as well, and just more collaborators, help help me, help them, like just all grow together. And that's they were really open to me collaborating with them and using their name. And Allie has been helping with the marketing, and she's been doing amazing with that, with the designs and everything. And yeah, it was basically just from basically Mary's wedding that caught me connected with all these people. And then I was like, these people are awesome. I mean, I knew Allie beforehand, but I didn't know Danny super well before. But yeah, I was like, this is a really cool thing you got going on. I wanna be a part of it. So.
And I love that there are 3 different artists, 3 different stories, and we know that you guys are having an amazing run here at Fringe. I know that when I'm talking to our audiences, they're hyping your shows. When other artists are saying, hey, if you've got a show that you've seen, shout it out. Your shows are coming up. So I'll give you a chance now. Give us your elevator pitch for your show. Stuart, we'll start with you. Right straight to camera.
Oh,
Go for it.
The quick
do
elevator
the
pitch.
pitch. Do the pitch, yeah.
Taking it all off, I don't, is an unvarnished autobiographical story of my horrific journey through yo-yo weight loss while living a life that is going so wrong you'd swear it was ordered off of Wish.
Awesome. Robin, your turn.
Another Mother is the story of a nuclear engineer mother and her daughter who decides to have a family and have kids. It is about their relationship and what it means to disappoint your parents and what it means to be a parent.
And Nathan?
The show is The Other, and it is a dark comedy about that little voice in your head that makes you feel less than, and how an unhealthy relationship with that voice can lead to a feedback loop of self-hatred and self-destruction, and the only way through that is connection with others. And it is a comedy.
We'll get people seeing you in just a bit, but through this process, what are some things that stick out to you from this? What has been the lesson from Fringe U and being an artist here at the Fringe Festival? These deep questions. It's 3 in the afternoon. It's hard for these, I know.
Yeah. It's not as scary as you think. Like it's scary, of course, putting on your first work in front of people to be looked at, but there are people out there that want to do these things, and as being an artist in at least Calgary, I mean, this is the only community I have experience with. We're very like there's a lot of community here, and people want to help each other, and you just need to reach out for that help, because people will help you, and it's once you have that help that you feel a lot more secure. At least like that's been my experience, and I feel like just the more you reach out, the better, and it's not that scary. It's once you get that help,
That's really cool. What about you, Robin?
I think just that you can do it even if you don't have a ton of experience or a ton of resources or a ton of belief in yourself. That you can make it happen. It involves stepping out of your comfort zone and getting things done and really reaching, but you can do it.
Yeah, I love that. Stuart?
Write your damn script. And don't second guess yourself thinking, will anybody get anything out of my story? Is the story I want to tell in this script something that will be meaningful? Will it relate to people? Will they laugh? Will they cry? Trust that they will. There is an audience out there who is eager to hear new stories.
I love that. That's fantastic. All right, we'll finish off with, where are you guys? How many shows do you have left? Start with you, Nathan.
Wood Homes. We are playing tonight at 9 p.m. Pay what you want. And also tomorrow at 5:30.
Awesome.
Regular show.
Fantastic.
Another Mother. We're also at Wood Homes. We are today, Thursday, at 5:30, and we are Saturday, I think it's 5:45. Somewhere in there.
Yeah. I've got 2 shows left. I am in the Lantern Church Fellowship Hall, and I've got a show tonight at 8:45 and Saturday at 7.
Fantastic. Awesome. So, Michelle, I'm going to throw some of these last questions to you. So now, you've heard all of this feedback from these artists. Are you surprised by any of this?
I wouldn't say I'm surprised. I'm gratified that how I conceived it in my head, especially the step-by-step process, and that you've all kind of echoed that it was like easy to follow. Phew. Because you're right, and it's just like, I hope it's as easy to follow as I think it is. So just gratitude there. And just, I think for me, there's a lot of pride for the three of you. I mean, you took faith in yourselves, took the ball and ran with it, and I am just overjoyed and super proud of the work that the three of you accomplished.
It's really
That
amazing.
was-
Yeah,
yeah.
it's fantastic. Yeah. Oh. So congratulations, class of 2024. You're doing it. You're making it. This is fantastic. But of course, we have our class of 2025 that is going to be taking applications soon. Can you tell us more about that process,
Yeah,
Michelle?
so there's going to be applications going online. Keep watching our social media channels because that'll be end of August, beginning of September. There'll be 3 or 4 spots available. So when you see that, please sign up and join. Love to have you. It'll be over 3 or 4 Saturdays in the afternoon. It'll end in about October. And then we're going to talk about getting your show ready for presentation at the 2025 Calgary Fringe Theatre Festival and how we're going to help you in that journey.
Fantastic. We're going to open it up now to our giant audience that's here. I know that some of you have some questions for our artists, so if you've got a question for anybody up on stage, just raise your hands. Anyone? Fantastic. Oh, there we go. Yep, over here, young man.
So I have 2 questions. One of them is a bad pun.
One of them is a bad pun. Okay.
When this is a question for another mother, would you call the family in your story nuclear family?
Would you call it, because your mom is a nuclear physicist,
Yeah,
so
right.
would you call your family the nuclear family?
Absolutely. I think, it is from one nuclear family to the next. That's the whole story of the show.
And then now for a real question, when it comes to like you said before, just the little voice inside your head that can sometimes bring you down, self-doubt. Do you have any self-doubt moments when you were developing your stories, and if so, how did you overcome them?
Good question about self-doubt, yeah.
So many.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just human nature. And it's just trying to stop listening to that voice and listen to the other voice and listen to the outside voices that tell you, no, you can do this. And you've got a story that needs to be heard. And yeah, of course there's doubts and there's always hiccups along the way.
Something that sparked a lot of self-doubt for me is when months kept going by and I couldn't find a director. I have this whole play, it's like ready to go. Been working on it with a dramaturg for months, and there's no director and no team. And I really started to doubt, like, is this even gonna happen? Is this show gonna be a thing? Can I really do this? And the way I got over it was sitting myself down and saying, yes, this is going to happen. We're going to make it happen. If you don't have a director by the end of the month, you're going to direct it and you're going to cast it and we're just going to go. And I did find a director before the end of the month.
Yay!
I just find it ironic that I had writer's block and was doubtful of if I was even good enough to be a playwright about a play about my inner voice telling me I'm not good enough. The irony of that is so hilarious to me. But we got it done. I made that guy sit down for a bit. So there's definitely doubts because geez, brand new thing. I've never written a play. I've written scenes, but I've never written a coherent play that has been put together before. And this is my first one. And I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just writing and hoping it's good, and I've gotten some feedback and I've improved since then. And I'm and people have been enjoying it. So clearly we got somewhere.
You
So
got
that's
somewhere.
good. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Great answers. Thank you so much. Question over here from the Minion.
Yeah, I actually have 2 questions, but I'm going to take them one. I'll take them one at a time. So the first question is, so now that you have actually written a play that has been produced and actually performed for paying audiences at a Fringe festival, how did the process of doing that compare to, for example, the things you learned throughout the Fringe throughout the Fringe you taking the course? So, for example, when you're taking the course, did you have thoughts of, oh, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like this? came to do it, it's like, oh, it was actually more like this, or was it like, nope, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be?
I guess for me, I was like, nobody's going to come see my show. I was like, nobody. Be prepared to have 0 tickets sold. But that hasn't been the case, and I'm very happy about that. Yeah.
You know, actually, I think the process has more or less gone the way I anticipated it. Like, while I've never had a play I wrote produced before, I've been a part of lots of productions. I know the kind of general process of how it goes. And so I don't think it was super shocking. It was just really different because I was on the side of arranging everything, making everything happen this time.
Yeah. I'd have to say the same. I mean, I had done a couple Fringes in '88 and in 2011. So, I mean, I knew what was going to happen. I didn't know if anybody would come see my show, but I knew somebody would because I go, well, let's go see what this is. And the response has been fantastic, and I guess that's the biggest doubt I had. Will there be a good response to this play? And it's been very overwhelmingly positive and really makes me happy. What I am looking forward to is this coming year, I'm applying for every Fringe I can get to, and I want to take this on the road, and there I'll be digging deep into the handbook that we got to make sure I've got everything lined up before I pull the trigger, because that's really important. You got to know what you're doing going in. I felt like we knew what we were doing going into this, but that's a much bigger kettle of fish.
Thank you. That actually is a perfect segue into the second question I had. And the second question was almost literally that. Are you now thinking about taking that, the show that you've done here at the Calgary Fringe on the road and performing it at other Fringes? Are you thinking, oh, now that I've figured this out, I've got this other show that I really want to do. Like, do you have any thoughts about what you're going to do next? Or is it, no, just take it one at a
5
time.
minutes, thank you.
Well, I already answered that, yeah, I am looking to take this on, so move it on.
Well, I do have a family. Unfortunately, I don't think touring is going to be in my near future. That's okay. I have lots of things on the horizon. I have plays that are written. I have plays that are partially written. I have grants I want to apply for and projects I want to potentially do and contests I want to submit to. And yeah, I'm just going to keep writing, keep doing things, keep reaching out, and maybe getting things as I do so. But yeah, I'm not sure what's next, but I'm just gonna keep applying to everything I can, writing, and see what happens.
Yeah, I definitely want to apply for more Fringes next year and take this on the road with the team. I did apply yesterday for the Kelowna Fringe in 2025. They extended their deadline, so maybe that's a good sign. Maybe that means there might have a better chance of getting in. I don't know, but yes is the short answer to that question.
That's fantastic.
I won't ramble on for 5 minutes.
Awesome. Nathan, Robin, Stuart, congratulations. You're doing so well. We all are so proud of you, and we wish you continued success. And congratulations on being graduates of the program. Michelle, thank you so much for putting
Thanks,
this on,
Michelle.
giving us all the information. You're fantastic. If you want to find out more about the Fringe U program or any of the events that are happening this year at the 2024 Calgary Fringe Festival, visit us online at calgaryfringe.ca. That's it for us. We'll see you at the Fringe Festival. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And thanks to our audience here. Have a great rest of your Fringe Festival. Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys so much. If you want to come on off stage, we'll get away from the mic.